What's up, everybody? Welcome back in. Now that we got the playoffs set, the season is over. It's going to be kind of cool. We're going to kind of talk about a couple of the teams and how they got here. And I'm super interested, Brent joining us as always from PFF and Rivals, just to talk to Spencer Danielson tonight. Like he's a cool personality, another young coach like Kenny Dillingham.
Very young, 36.
New to the profession. I want to talk about how he got his start because it's pretty cool as an interim coach and, being one of the only guys, actually the only guy ever to be an interim coach and win a title, like in his first interim era. So kind of made history with that, but just, I think, get to know him, his program, how he built it, and how they got to this point, Brent. It's kind of cool thinking about Boise being in the 12-team playoff and sitting at home with a bye.
And having a bye. That's that. I think when you look at preseason predictions, most probably predicted that Boise would be there, but as the 12 seed. And now they're sitting here as the 3 seed. That is a really big deal. They had a great season, obviously. And a lot of it, like we had talked about before, is as much about the great loss as it is any, great win that they had.
Yeah. When you lose to the number one team in the country and give up 2 special teams touchdowns and you lose by a field goal, that's a good day. Like that's a good resume, and that kind of proves that they can play with the best teams in the country. And now they've got another opportunity. Like that's what's going to be fun to watch. It's going to be fun to watch Arizona State. It's going to be fun to watch SMU. It's going to be fun to watch Boise. It's going to be fun to watch the quote unquote, not the powerhouses, not the brands, not the names.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah, and how they do in this tournament, because it'll go a long way. I'm interested like heck to see the Heisman. Let's talk about the Heisman real quick too, Brent, because like I'm a Heisman voter. I don't complicate things. I really don't. I think of who the best player is despite position, which I think is hard because naturally the quarterback touches it every play. Like he touches it, he has more opportunity. So that's why you've seen like 8 of the last 10 be quarterbacks. Like it's a quarterback award now.
Mm-hmm.
But in this type of a year, without Oregon getting the fanfare, which is weird a little bit to me, like why isn't Oregon talked about more as a national power? It's kind of like, yeah, Oregon's there, they're pretty good.
Consistency was not rewarded, I guess, from a discussion point this year.
They beat the crap out of people, and they do it with I would argue it's kind of flashy, like, right? Like it's got the sizzle at the quarterback spot and throwing the ball and playmakers. And it's the same old uniforms that are awesome that everybody loves and have loved in the past. Same up tempo a lot. Like it's weird. Oregon just hasn't been talked about. And, if you're watching them, Sadiq coming on at tight end, who had 2 touchdowns last game, you can see he's a weapon too, along with Ferguson, along with Stewart, along with Johnson, along with Gabriel, along with James. Like they've got weapons. I mean, they've got speed everywhere. But the Heisman Trophy, if you had a vote, Brent, if you had a vote, who would you vote for of the candidates? Who would you be because when you put in a vote, you put in for your top 3.
Gosh. I still think it's Genty.
That's a long pause, by the way. Were you trying to raise the drama there or what, bro?
Well, it's not an easy decision.
All
because Travis Hunter was an elite corner and an elite wide receiver in one. He was in essence Ohtani, and the uniqueness of that.
You did that's your 3rd baseball reference on the pod this year. That's your limit. That's 3 strikes. You're out. No more. No mas.
Well, look what you just said. You just said 3 strikes, you're out. But
anyway. I know I used that on purpose.
Yeah, I figured so. But it felt like best player at his position was him by far all year, and carried and lifted his team to heights that no one thought possible, honestly.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting too. And I always look at because the national media always you have to be on a national championship contender, which I think the Heisman moving forward is different now because there's so many teams that can win because they're all going to be in the playoffs. So you used to be in the BCS era, you had to be one of those 2. If you weren't one of those top 2, forget you're not even invited to this thing. Then you went to 4, and so it widened it. But now Like, to me, we should truly get the best player in college football. And I would argue this point. If you put Hunter on Colorado or on Boise, excuse me, are they undefeated?
12-1, but yes. Or no, I think the answer is no, but
yeah, I think they're at least a 1-loss team, maybe a 2-loss team. I think they probably would be. I don't know that they'd be where they're at without
they'd have a different identity
with Ashton Jeanty. If you put Ashton Jeanty on Colorado, like, and you gave Colorado a legit run game, like, that's pretty nasty. I mean, that would be unbelievable with Shador and their weapons that they already have as well. They have other weapons besides Travis. And listen, I'm not taking anything away from Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter's a dog. Like, you're right. He's a unicorn. Like, you know, you don't see very many of these guys. Champ Bailey did it. Rod Woodson did it. Primetime did it. You don't see a lot of guys, and the stamina and the athletic ability is freaky. Like, it's freaky. I remember a couple years ago when he was coming out, and I remember talking to Georgia about him. They're like, dude, he is him. Like, at the cornerback spot, like, loose hips, he can do anything he wants to do. And you've seen it throughout his career. And obviously, you know, when he got to Colorado, you saw it at a much higher level. But that's the thing too, Brent. I'll ask you this. Him in the Big 12, should you dominate the Big 12? Should you put up huge numbers? It's not the best conference in college football by any stretch.
I'd say the answer to that, to both of these players, is kind of yes. You if you're at that level, you should dominate the competition you were playing against.
Yeah, and I think Travis Hunter did. He did a really good job. He did a great job. Dylan Gabriel, to me, belongs in this conversation because I think without him, they're not there either. And I think he's really, really good. And I think he covers up the offensive line. He was getting hit early. They were trying to figure out who they were early. So he definitely belongs, you know, in that mix, in that conversation. So I would think about, you know, Ashton Jeanty first. I think about Travis Hunter second. I think about, you know, Dylan Gabriel third. I think those are the three guys that Cam Ward obviously is going to be there, but those are the three guys that, you know, come to mind first. You know, Brent, you're not allowed to share your Heisman vote.
Did you just kind of do that? I was wondering if the guest that is hanging out in the background that we're about to bring on to the show was going to ask you if you did in fact vote for his player. So let's. I don't know if he was going to do that, but I'll let you welcome.
All right,
Coach Danielson.
Well, Coach Spencer Danielson from Boise. Like, we've seen him all year, man. I love. Coach, I love the way you talk. I love the way you address your team. I love your energy. So I want to go back, man. Like, you are literally a coach. You're a defensive coordinator, so it's even more. I love you even more because you're a defensive-minded coach. And Boise, by the way, we've seen the offense for all these years.
Oh, yeah.
But you're the interim coach, and your coach, you know, gets let go, and you're asked to take over. I want to know how that happened. I want to know what that conversation looked like and what Spencer said to his wife, Rachel, and to his own self, like when you found out the news.
Well, first off, I appreciate you guys letting me jump on, man. I've been looking forward to this. And, I mean, thank you, Jesus, for every opportunity, man. All we got is one life to leave an impact and be a light and fight darkness at every turn, man. So I appreciate you guys. I mean, I will never forget last season. I'm sitting in my office with a recruit, and I get a knock on my door, and it's the assistant AD. And she's like, you know, I need to talk to you real quick. I go with her, and essentially within the next 45 minutes, I find out the head coach has been let go. I'm the interim head coach, and I'm speaking to the team in about half hour. And a lot of things cross your mind now. I mean, I didn't walk into the office that day thinking that was going to be my Sunday morning. But I'll never forget, you know, just praying about it. I go in front and talk to the team. And at that point, we had 2 games left in our season. And I just went up in front of these kids who I love them dearly. I mean, this was year 7 for me at that point at Boise State. So I've been around their recruitment. I know their families, been through COVID, you know, multiple head coaches. And I went in front of them and said, guys, all I'm asking is for 2 weeks. And if that means just telling people, you know, I'm not going to go in the portal, I'm going to finish. No different for the coaches. Like, instead of getting your resumes ready, I'm asking you just to focus on finishing this the right way. We got 2 weeks. And that's what those guys did, man. And it has nothing to do with me. I give Jesus the glory. And it's those players, those coaches, and that's uncommon. I mean, the easy thing to do is always look out for yourself, look out for your best interests. And those players last year and those coaches didn't do that, went on to win the rest of our games and win a Mountain West championship. And then fast forward, after that championship game, I get so blessed to be named the head coach. 2 days later, Ashton Genty comes out openly and says, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying right here in Boise, Idaho. I want to leave a legacy. I want to be different. And we have a bunch of really good players on our team. And then one by one, they just said, no, I'm not doing what college football, what everybody thinks is the thing to do, which is jump around for maybe an easier opportunity or more money. Like, no, I want to be a part of something different. I want to be developed to be the best version of myself. And I want to do something that's never been done in Boise, Idaho, which is win a Mountain West Conference championship and make it to the college football playoff. And that's what these kids did. It is not me. It's a group of young men and staff that said, you know what, we're going to be different. We want to do it God's way. And they did it. So, I mean, I'm so blessed to be around them every day. I promise you, if anyone's looking for nuggets of wisdom from me, they're not going to get it because I'm not that smart. I'm not that cool. I'm just proud of these kids.
Well, I love the reaction. Wes, I want you to play it. The reaction of your team to me when you got announced said everything you needed to know. And that probably just coming from your standpoint,
I
too.
know how much you love
Oh, here we go. We got it.
And I'm glad.
We'll start crying again.
He's your new head coach.
Look at that. I mean, that's enough said. How does that make you feel? Because we all wonder and we're all curious, like how things are going to go. And we all have those, I think a lot of times you got that devil, yelling at you and telling you you're not good enough. You can't do this. But to be able to stand up and to get that affirmation from your team, like right when you get the job, that had to feel pretty awesome.
Oh, I mean, it's a moment I'll never forget. I was overwhelmed with just gratitude. And I don't say it like, I think sometimes, the term love is thrown around a lot. But, here we talk about love being action and sacrifice. And I really do love these kids. They impact me every single day. So seeing them, what they were able to do to end last season and seeing the look on their face. I mean, and prior to that point, we won the Mountain West Championship, and there was a line of our players, our athletic director, who's a 10 out of 10. Jeremiah Dickey's the best in the business. But there's a line of our players telling him essentially, like, if you don't hire, Spencer Danielson, I'm sure there were some choice words used with our players. I mean, they're so passionate. I care about him so much. And seeing that their reaction on their face when I was named head coach, I'm so blessed. And I've got so much support here from our staff and our players. And I really do want to talk about Jeremiah Dickey. I mean, he's a man that loves the Lord. Absolutely on the cutting edge to push this place.
Hey, coach.
There you go. It came back just
now. There you go. Your mic was a little bit in and out, but finish up what you're saying.
No, but I just wanted to give our AD Jeremiah Dickey a shout out because, I mean, a guy that loves the Lord, loves these student athletes, and if he's always the guy that wants to find a way to get something done. I have yet to ever ask him for anything we need and him ever not be like, no, we can't do it. It's whatever we need to do to support our student athletes and push this place forward to new heights, to be a light on a hill. He does. So, but that moment, guys, I know I'm on a tangent, but that moment in front of the players when I was named the head coach is a moment I'll never forget.
Cool.
Coach, I disagree in terms of words of wisdom. Love means action and sacrifice. I heard that in one of the videos that I've seen from you, so I'll disagree with that one because that's a phenomenal one. But I know you said your goal was the playoff. Did you ever in your sort of back of your mind or even dreams think, okay, we were going to get a bye?
No, I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I'd be lying to you if I did. And it's one of those things too, and I've told people this, like even in January, where you're kind of setting the goals for the year. I mean, here at Boise State, I mean, we are standing on the shoulders of decades of blue-collar championships, counted out, finding a way to win. I mean, Kellen Moore was 50-3 at Boise State. So I walk in our team room every day, and at the top it says our goal is to win the Mountain West Conference Championship and a bowl game with class, integrity, academic excellence. I mean, these goals have been set. The new thing is this college football playoff that hasn't been around for those years that Boise State did go undefeated and didn't really have a true opportunity or path to win a national championship or play in a playoff. So, it's so much of it really came from our players. They said, Coach, we're going to go do this. I'm a process over everything guy. Like, it's not about perfection. It's about your process. And so it was, we could talk about the playoff. Let's have our best January 20th team meeting we've ever had. Let's have our best spring ball practice too we've ever had. And let's make sure we focus on those things. And that's what these kids did. But when we talked about the playoff, even back then, and all the hype going into the season, it wasn't anything that, I wasn't really prepared for I knew if we handled business week in and week out that we'd have an opportunity to make it to the playoff of getting a first round bye, being the 3 seed. And I love it. Still being counted out. I love it. That's what this place is built on. Keep that chip on your shoulder. I tell our guys all the time, even when we, got ranked for the first time, I brought one of our best players up to the front and I was just like, oh, you're top 25, and started hitting his shoulder. Oh, you're playing so good. And everyone in the team room was kind of looking at me like, what are you doing, coach? And I'm like, every time you listen to a compliment, it whittles the chip on your shoulder and makes it nice and smooth, nice and soft. And that's going to get you caught. And these guys didn't let that happen to them, man. So I'm so proud of them and where they're at now. I'm excited to continue to push forward.
I think one of the big things that happened for you guys, when I look at your staff coach and I look at Dirk Cutter, a guy that has played or has coached in the NFL, his first head coaching gig, Boise State, that's pretty cool. I think too, that he's been in your shoes back. It was his first gig in 98, right? Like a long time ago. Obviously, offensive coordinator, offensive mind. Like, how much has he helped you with the head coaching position and just having a guy that good and well, like, because you're a defensive coach. So I imagine you got that pretty well. What you want to do, you got to get that offensive side taken care of as well.
Yeah, Dirk Cutter, guys, is an absolute 10 out of 10. And
all right, your mic's gone again. Hold on. We got to get your mic back up again.
You guys got me?
There you go. Yes, sir.
Sorry. No, Dirk Cutter is a 10 out of 10. And not only just in how he's one of the best offensive minds, and I'd like to say ever in this game. How he is, the meticulous way he goes about a game plan, the strategy he has to attack a defense from the run and pass game. I think it's second to none. But he's been such a huge resource, not even just being able to have him completely run the offense and pull out the best out of our players. He's a huge resource for me, like you said, David, is in regards to just being a head coach and first-year head coach in regards to practice plans, messaging, how to make sure I'm growing every single day. He's a huge resource for me. Chris Peterson's a huge resource for me. But having Dirk Cutter right next door to my office, he's a guy that I pick his brain constantly. And I think what gets lost sometimes about Dirk is he's one of the best I've been around in regards to building relationships with these players too. It's not just, oh, here's a big time NFL head coach. He's a great play caller, blah, blah, blah. Like, yes, he is that. But man, he checks on these kids. He's involved in their lives. He's texting them. He's calling them. He's phenomenal in regards to building relationships and being around these young men.
So, Coach, obviously we've gone this long and we haven't mentioned the guy that's playing for you at the running back position that is a Heisman finalist and a lot of people think might win it. You talked about him saying, hey, he's coming back, and that led to a lot of other things. What has Ashton Jeanty meant to you guys from the leadership perspective? Because obviously he's 1 and 2 in terms of FBS leaders. Him and then him after contact is 1 and 2 in terms of rushing yards. So he's performing on the field. But what is it off the field about him, the kid, that makes him so special?
Yeah, guys, Ashton Jeanty is an absolute elite human being. And I don't say those words lightly. Like, I've been around him since we recruited him out of high school. And when he came here as a 17-year-old early enrollee, I'll never forget, I'm the defensive coordinator. It's our starting defense. He's a true freshman early enrollee, and he takes a 4th and 1 run for 75 yards to the crib. And I'm about as angry as I've been. But at the same moment as I'm yelling, I'm like, this guy's about to be pretty dang special. And I think we've all been privy to that throughout this year. But what people don't know, or I think people are starting to, is just who he is as a person. Unanimous captain, a guy that loves his teammates, and not just in his words, but his actions. He is the guy that after hours, you'll look out on the practice field and see him doing walkthroughs with the freshmen in the RB room to make sure they're ready for practice the next day. He is the guy that waits. We have meetings once a week because I want to check in and see how he's doing. And every time we talk, it's about the team. We're in fall camp this past year, and he's waiting for me after a night walkthrough. And I could tell that Ashton's frustrated. I'm like, Ash, what's going on? He's like, Coach, I need you to set a players only meeting because the urgency tonight in this walkthrough, wasn't it. That's going to catch us. So I set a players only meeting the next day, no coaches involved. And Ash led the whole thing. And the amount of our players that called me after and said, Coach, we needed that. Ash sets the standard for us. We can't take any days off, especially walkthroughs. We got to be intentional in everything we do. I mean, this is a kid that just who he is as a human being. He's the best football player in the country. And I think if people watch the film, I don't think it's even close. But who he is off the field is a 10 out of 10. I was so blessed to be able to baptize him at church this past summer. I mean, he's a guy that loves the Lord, loves his teammates. I think he's a generational talent on and off the field. And I believe he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
So at any point in the season where it's a 7 out of 8 stretch in those last 8 games where he's 30+ carries, where you're like, hey, can we let this guy rest a little bit because we're going to need him down the road, or is he just fine and I'm good, Coach? Just give it to me.
He's built different. I just tell you that right now. I mean, never missed a game, 30-some carries a week, 130+ yards a game, and he practices that way. It is not one of those situations for Ash. Well, he plays that in the game, so we're going to kind of let him sit in the cold tub during practice and let everybody else work. Come to practice. Ashton Genty practices his tail off, and that's why he plays like it. And so the legacy he's leaving outside of the wins and what people see, there's freshmen, sophomores, juniors in this program that are going to be better people on and off this football field because of the impact he has on him, because he'll be the first to tell you everything's earned. How you perform in practice is how you play. Don't worry about the money and the awards. Worry about your work, your impact, because that's going to give the eternal impact that really matters for your life. I mean, that's who he is. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him. Who he is on and off the football field is generational, and he comes from great stock. Who he is, and whatever NFL team he goes to, and I've told this to multiple GMs, he will day one impact that culture positively. And he's the guy that can give you the Ray Lewis pump up speech pregame, but he's also the guy that will grab someone one-on-one at practice and tell him, hey, that's exactly what we need from you. We need more of that. He's an elite leader and an elite teammate.
Yeah. And you can walk that walk so well when SEC schools come after you and you stay right where you're at. Last offseason, they're coming after him, trying to give him money. And he's like, I like where I'm at. And so to be able to lead from that standpoint, not highly recruited out of high school because he played running back for 1 year, comes from the military, traveled around a lot. So he's extremely, you can tell, intelligent, cultured, just communicator. Seems like he's a TikTok dancer too. I didn't know that about him until recently. A foodie, seems like he's got a little bit of everything going on. I want to talk about another guy. Okay. I look at you, Coach, and I look at Boise, and I think about Kellen Moore, right? You talked about him, and he was 50-3, right? Isn't that what you said? Or right, 50-3 as a starter.
Yep.
Going into this season, I remember looking at you guys, and I remember I'm looking in Taylon Green. Oh, heck, he goes to Arkansas, starts at Arkansas, and then this Malachi Nelson guy who everybody talks about being a 5-star kid. But that's not the guy who gets it. Maddox Madsen, Mad Dog, y'all call him. How the heck did he get the starting gig over, obviously guys that were every bit as talented, if not more, and talked about and loved on a little bit?
Yeah, Maddox Madsen, we call Mad Dog.
Can't hear you again.
You guys got me?
Pump it up just a little bit. You're good.
Pump it up. Pump it up.
You guys got me?
There we go. You got to pump it up. Mad Dog.
Mad Dog. I mean, he's earned it. Let me just start. That's who he is. He's an elite competitor. So coming out of high school, under-recruited, chip on his shoulder, one of the, he's a Utah kid. I mean, threw for tons of yards, touchdowns, but counted out. And even in the offseason, we recruited Malachi, and Maddox got hurt last season. And Taylon Green. I mean, but people forget, like, Maddox Madsen really essentially beat out Taylon Green last season and got hurt. Taylon Green did a phenomenal job. TG's a 10 out of 10 human being as well. Went on to win a championship, and wish TG nothing but the best. He's killing it at Arkansas. We go into this offseason. We recruit Malachi, who's a phenomenal young man as well. And all Maddox and his family wanted to know was, Coach, is there a shot for my son to compete? That's all we want. That's all we want. And I said, absolutely. Like, that's what this place is built on. That's what I believe in. Everything in life is earned. And that's who Maddox is, and how he trained through spring ball to get healthy, how he performed in the summertime and fall camp. There was no doubt in my mind that he'd be this, he was the right man to go with the starter for game one, and a guy that he does so much for our team, so much for our offense. I mean, we're a pro style offense. He makes all the checks. He's one of the best touchdown interception ratio in the country, which directly correlates to winning games. He's a quiet competitor that never gets too high, never gets too low. The moment's never too big for him. I mean, 4th and goal to win the game, you want the ball in Maddox Madsen's hands. He's going to make the right decisions. And as of late, people didn't know he was a dual threat quarterback, but he's taken off a lot more than I was ready for, and he's making plays. I mean, he's a guy, he's 13-1 as a starter. People need to know more about Maddox Madsen. He deserves all the credit that he's now getting and some. And he's a redshirt sophomore. I mean, his best football is in front of him. He's a phenomenal leader and a guy that I would trust with this program any day of the week.
One more thing about your team, Coach, is that looking through it, I think I noticed maybe 6 different combinations of offensive line starting fives. Game one, the only time the game one starting group was there was in the conference championship game. And then you have this guy named Zach Holmes, who walks on and basically hadn't played until this season with you guys. Talk about him and what he's meant for your team and being able to come in and play.
Yeah, absolutely. You guys got me okay?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
well,
sir.
we go into game one. I mean, so our starting center, Mason Randolph, who's an NFL kid, gets hurt game one, right at the end of the game. We beat Georgia Southern, and we go to play Oregon week 2. And Zach Holmes, walk on, just fighting his tail off since he got here. Phenomenal kid, hilarious. He does the best Coach D impersonations on the team. Let me just start there. He's a great kid. And he goes in, starts against Oregon, and a guy that just has earned everything he's ever got. Like I said, walked on, fighting his tail off to get in the 2 deep, starts the game against Oregon. And that's just such a testament to him as a person in this place. I mean, our O-line coach, Tim Keen's did a phenomenal job. Play 2 against Oregon, our starting right guard breaks his leg, essentially, is out till the end of the season. We've had so many different guys get hurt in the O-line. Next man up, gel together, keep pushing forward. And it's a testament to those kids. I mean, Zach Holmes, Jason Steele, Hull Schmidt, Jake Steele, TK, like these guys that no one thought they're maybe going to be starters going into the year, but hey, your number's called. No one's going to feel sorry for us. Like, it's next man up, step up. And to be able to put the yards we did rushing the football, obviously Ashton Genty, a huge part of that. But then Maddox Madsen being smart with the football, them working together, and what we were able to do offensively and as a team, as a testament to those kids, Zach Holmes being one of those.
Well, and I love this, Coach, because y'all are in the playoff. Y'all are having a bye. Like, everybody needs to know more about your team. Everybody knows about Ashton Genty, but I think this is cool because we get to find out some of the stories about the other guys. And in that vein, I want to go to a D lineman. I want to go to Ahmed. I heard there's a great recruiting story about a teammate of yours that told you to look at him, and maybe his size didn't necessarily get you excited. But talk about this dude who looks like he's an absolute animal and going to be a Sunday player as well. How did we find him? What's the story behind him, and what does he mean to the team?
Yeah, so, I mean, Ahmed is absolutely going to be a Sunday player. But we're during COVID. I'm the D-line coach at the time, and I played at Azusa Pacific University that no one's ever heard of, and it's okay. We're the Harvard of the West, and we are –
Azusa Pacific?
Come on now. Let's go.
Azusa Pacific. Let's go.
But I played with Corey, his brother, and mind you, Corey's 5'9", and I love Corey. Great kid. Awesome. But he called me and said over during COVID, so we can't go on the road recruiting. And he's like, hey, my brother.
Hey, hit that mic again, Coach, because I want everybody to hear this. I'm going to make sure we don't miss out on this.
You guys got me?
Yeah, you back again. You back strong now.
We're locked in. Let's go.
All right.
But so Corey, his brother, called me. He's 5'9", and said, hey, my brother's a D lineman. I think you should recruit him. And in my mind, I'm like, Corey, I love you, but your brother, whoever he is, isn't going to play here. Like, that's just not how it's going to go. This is an APU. And he's like, hey, I'm going to send you some videos because during COVID, we can't go on the road recruiting. And he sends me a video of Ahmed. I mean, we're in COVID now. He's got a mask on. He's in like somebody's garage doing a pass rush drill, and he's just killing somebody. And I'm like, I'm intrigued. Like, I'm intrigued. This looks like a big old joker. He's violent. He's explosive. And sent me some other videos. We walked the path, end up offering Ahmed, talked to him on the phone, one of the most grateful, humble, just young man I've ever met in my entire life. And a bunch of other people end up wanting to recruit him and offering him. Ahmed commits to us to come to Boise State. We still have yet to see him in person. And so I'll never forget, it's summer when Ahmed's, first day on campus. And I'm right outside our team room waiting for Ahmed to get dropped off. And our whole staff's like, I wonder what this guy's about to look like. If he comes here and he's 5'10", I'm about to get jumped by the entire staff. And he pops out of the car, bicep veins flowing, 6'3". I'm like, I start hooting and hollering. I think Ahmed thought it was because I was excited to see him. I was just glad that he was who we wanted him to be. And since he's gotten here, guys, I mean, you talk about a guy that's played, to that point, played 2 years of football. English was a second language, and a guy that came in and just humble and hungry, can listen, can learn, just an absolute savage in regards to wanting to be great, wanting to help this team, and played as a true freshman, played as a sophomore, junior, who he is now. I mean, I think he's going to be in the NFL for a long time. We put a ton on him. He's one of the best edge players we've ever had here. He's extremely violent at the point of attack. We're in fall camp, and Dirk Cutter literally will tell me, hey, can you take Ahmed out for this play? Because I want to see if it actually works, because it won't work if Ahmed's in. Like, he's just that type of kid. And the relentlessness which he plays with on our team, I mean, he's an absolute nightmare for offenses to go against. He's a phenomenal teammate, voted captain by his teammates. I can't say enough good things about Ahmed.
All right, Coach, you got to tell me, and we're going to let you get out of here because I know you got other things to do. I heard y'all do something called Fast Friday. What is Fast Friday?
Yeah, so our practice schedule is set up to where Thursday's a walkthrough. And Fridays, we take a lot of it from the old Oregon model, where we kind of want to spark them on Fridays. We want them to be explosive game reps on Friday. And so we call it Fast Friday. One, it's a fast practice. We're out there for no more than an hour, but then we do some different weight stuff on the field to really spark their bodies. And then right after that is full speed plays, not the physical part of it, but it's either full speed routes, full speed defenders, because we want them to get their game reps in right away. And we want it to be fast. So their bodies will feel great. So like, I want them going out there on Fridays, playing the game fast, no different than they're going to play the game 24 hours from then. And our guys, I mean, it's explosive on Fridays.
That's the Olympic model, right? That's like the Olympics,
Correct.
how they do it. The sprinters, they sprint the day before.
Yep, exactly right. So, I mean, our receivers are hitting top GPS numbers. Our defense is going to, go against the best third downs we're going to see the next day, and it's full speed reps. And it's quick now. I mean, we're probably getting 15 full speed reps, but it's fast, it's explosive, and it's just sparking the body and getting their minds ready to go.
Yeah, but don't you do something with some taking some shoes off to coaches and stuff too? Yeah. I heard that too now, Coach.
Oh, there's a lot of traditions at Boise State that I cannot take credit for creating. But at the end of our Fast Friday, once we take the knee in victory formation with our offense, signifying winning the game, coaches usually run for the hills because they are getting attacked by the team. I got attacked last week. I got stripped down. I still have my pants on. We're gonna keep it right here. But coaches will grab broomsticks to protect themselves. I mean, I saw Ashton Genty double leg takedown one of our strength coaches 2 weeks ago to take his shoes off and his hat. And then our players will then wear the clothes they strip off the coaches the rest of the day. So you come to practice, man, get your mind right on Fridays. It might be you guys.
Well, and I heard that during that Fast Friday with Coach that I heard we had some tattoos displayed that players might not have known about because you were kind of a more conservative person. But I got to know about the tats, man. I got to know what they mean and what you got.
Well, I tell her, yeah, when it happened on Friday, guys are like, man, it looks like you just left jail. I'm like, all right, let's chill out a little bit, guys. Let's chill out here a little bit. Let's not get overtaken here. But I tell them, guys, we're all saved by grace, man. It's we serve a great God that we're all saved by grace. I thought it was really cool when I was 18 and 19 years old to get a bunch of tats. And now at 36, married with 2 little girls, I don't think it's that cool anymore. Let me first say that. But no, growing up, it was something that I don't know if it's who I was around or what it is. I was like, man, I want to get some tats. My mom told me I couldn't. And then I said, Mom, could I get a tat for you? And she said, absolutely, you can. And that started me getting inked up, man. But it's definitely funny when I take my shirt off around the guys because they kind of give me that look like, Coach, you got something you want to tell us about these? I'm like, guys, there ain't no cool story. I just thought I was way cooler than I actually am.
Coach, so speaking of the faith and the family, and you mentioned your daughters, so just kind of reading about yourself and your story and things like that. And then what caught me was somebody's birthday in your house is kind of near a very big day in the college football playoff. So have we already looked ahead and figured the planning out there? Or how are we handling that at the household?
Yeah, my daughter Eleanor turns 4 right around that time. So I was joking with my wife. I was like, sweetie, we got to be intentional to find the right time to make sure we get to the jump house before we leave for Arizona or whatever we got to do. No, I'm so glad. My wife Rachel's a rock star. We met at Azusa Pacific. I chased her around until she finally gave in. And when we moved out to Boise, Idaho, I remember she started crying when I told her that we're going to move to Boise because we knew nothing about this place, no connections. And we prayed about it. We felt like this is where God wants us to be. I mean, she's a rock star. We have our almost 4-year-old daughter, Eleanor. We got Rosalie, who's 2.5, and we got 1 on the way coming in March. We don't know what it is, but if I'm a betting man, it's probably another girl. I got 115 sons right now, and the Lord knows I probably need a little more estrogen in my life when I go home. We got a girl dog too, so we just add to it.
Oh man.
But they're such a blessing, man. And it's so awesome when you go home. Those little girls don't want to know anything about what happened at football. They want to make sure I could dress up and watch Moana. And that's about where we're at, so I'm so blessed.
Well, that's cool, Coach. We're going to let you get back to Rachel because I know you're going to go home right now and spend time with Rachel and the girls. I think I can speak for everybody that watched this and listened to this. It's easy to pull for a guy like you, and I think there'll be a lot of Boise State fans in the college football playoff, and that's got to sound sweet. Boise fans and playing in the college football playoff. So thanks for joining us, big dog.
I appreciate you guys, your time so much. God bless you. Thanks for letting me hop on.
Appreciate it, big dog.
See you guys.
All right. Well, Brent, I told you, man, he's such a great dude, man. Just easy to cheer for and fun to get the backdrops and the stories of the guys that, dude, he grinded, man. Like a defensive coach. He was a GA at Boise, like really like grinded and worked his way up the ladder, got his opportunity. And when he got his shot, man, he shot his shot. And I mean, I love that about
Super impressive. Dude. Super impressive. I'm blown away. Like I'm playing for that guy.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm going to go play.
Well,
right, so
let's hit Arizona State, man. I think it was cool to catch up with Boise, but I think Arizona State is also, just a great story this year. And all the Sun Devils, man, like not a lot of expectations, joining a new league, but I think it's important even more to go back, to COVID in 2020 with them. And, the disappointment they had. Jaden Daniels comes in with Herm Edwards, and you think it's about to take off and go great. And then they get in trouble with recruiting violations and, doing the face-to-face stuff basically during COVID when right now you'd look back, you probably like they shouldn't have gotten in trouble for that. But anyways, right. But then they get in trouble and then they kind of flounder a little bit. Herm Edwards gets fired. Antonio Pierce obviously was part of that as well, who's coaching he's the head coach for the Raiders now. And very similar, man. They tab a young cat that is very familiar with their program and Kenny Dillingham to come in. And I mean, he's righted the ship. He's brought energy, but he also loves that place because he's an alum. He went there and has a lot of passion and kind of turned that thing around, man.
Well, when you look at the transfer portal model, you see kind of like with Indiana and Coach Signetti, and we'll talk about them either tomorrow or next week. But Arizona State's a little different because it's not like all the success this year is based upon guys they got this year. It's a lot of the guys that they got in the portal a season ago that stayed and believed in Dillingham and now are escalating. And then you add the quarterback to all of that. And talking about Sam Leavitt, now you have what you've seen. You have a team that's 11-1 with him as the starter, 11-2 overall, and now has a bye in the playoff.
Well, and it's crazy too because they had Rashada, who was a highly recruited kid. Like we just talked to Spencer about his highly recruited guys too, and it wasn't a highly recruited guy. If you look at Leavitt, he went to Michigan State, and he wasn't super highly recruited. Then transfers to Arizona State and gets his opportunity and really killed it and maximized it and did a great job. And you're right. And Jordan Tyson's the other guy you're talking about.
Yep.
Like he was at Colorado with primetime and all that was going on there, right? And then. Well, he was right there before primetime took over. I think when primetime came in, he kicked him out. Like,
yes,
and Tyson comes and doesn't really have much of an impact. And then this year he's their dude and killing it. Scattaboo, like another guy, like comes from Sacramento State, had a bunch of yards, killed it, did a good job. But here's another thing I like about Dillingham. I like the way he talks. I like his passion behind his program. I found this very interesting when I was reading up on him even more. He said, I talk about it all the time. Competitive people win. And he said, I don't need to know everything about you, but I need to know you're competitive. And he said, Brent, when I play ping pong with somebody or Madden with a kid and the recruit and you lose and you're like, no big deal. He's like, yeah, I'm not my kind of guy. Like, run that thing back, cuz. Like, I want another shot. Like, that's the kind of guys he talked about wanting. And speaking of our boy Scattaboo, like he told him last year, if you're going to stay, you need to get your body percent fat down. You need to learn to eat right. You need to learn to take care of your body. You need to become a better teammate. Like all of these things that he told him specifically that, again, coaches a lot of times tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And to be able to accept it, you've got to trust in your coach and believe in your coach. So being able to tell these guys these different things and then come back and then maximize those things, that's how you go from worst to first, predicted last to finishing first, being last year being 3-9 to this year being Big 12 champs and going to the college football playoff. You got to have a guy that everybody believes in that can shoot you straight, that you'll take and you'll use to your advantage.
And looking at these 3 and 4 seeds, and yes, we're talking about them as 3 and 4 seeds, the extra time when you are a running centric team whose running backs have been absolutely carrying the load, like you're getting the best version of those guys in the quarterfinal games. Like they'll be as well rested as they have been since game 1 and rolling like they are. That's big time for both Arizona State and Boise State. Like looking through some of the other guys on their roster, I hate to use the movie reference, but like the replacements when Shane Falco and those guys where you're just finding guys from a little bit everywhere. Like Alford at safety, one of the highest graded player of PFF for defense this year. Didn't play in 22 because of injury. Didn't play in 23 because of dumb transfer rules that got changed. Like Rouser from New Mexico State in 23. Just a little bit of places from everywhere where like Coleman, their center from Cal, who didn't play in 23 because of injury. So you're just finding and piecing all of this team together. And then you get this special run. And I think that's actually something when you combine the right coach with the right set of players and you have 1 or 2 stars like they have, you're going to see runs like this. And it's going to be a yearly thing. Now, it might be you might see some drop off, but maybe them not as much because their quarterback's young. But you're going to see where these teams kind of come out of nowhere in a way, worst to first, however you want to term it, and make runs and end up being playoff teams.
And I'm going to say this again, and I've said it before on here, but like you don't have to have 11 great players. Like you need a couple impact players, and you need everyone else to do their job and do it well and not have egos. And that's what's really, really cool. And I think we're going to continue to have all this parity and all this fun and all these teams that do this because you're one class away. You're a couple portal guys away from being there. Dillingham right there in the middle. Look at him. Like, look at his energy. Look at him. He's like a kid, super young. When he got hired, he was the youngest coach in all of college football. Which was cool meeting with him years and years ago. Brent, I remember meeting with him at Oregon. Just a brilliant offensive mind. Dan Lanning hired him right away, so I promise you he's good. Like, that doesn't happen. And then to watch him, what he did with Bo Nix, like completely turn him around. Like, I knew right away this guy's offense, the way he develops things, would be good. Another thing I love that he did, he got his bonuses this year for hitting all these markers of going to the playoff and winning the conference and stuff. And he gave it all to his assistants. And I mean, when you can be a leader and you can realize, like, y'all helped me get here, y'all are the reason I'm here, and spread the wealth and keep people happy. That's how you keep the staff together, right? Like, that's how you keep people on board. That's how you keep people, going in the same direction, loving your guys, pouring into your guys, believing in them. And that's just, I think that's just cool. It's just fun. It's fun to see those guys succeed. It's fun to see different backgrounds, different types. It's really cool.
Good for the sport, says Sean. I actually agree. You want more teams like this to have chances to build something special, and even if it is just a 1-year run, it's a heck of a run. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun for the school, and it might bring about future change that you didn't even think about because, hey, I want to go play for that guy. And that's, I think, something you're going to see more and more in the portal is I want to, as much as I want touches or reps or snaps, I want to go play in places where the energy is what you've seen at Boise and Arizona State and teams like that.
Yeah, and that's not going to be for everybody. There is a lot of people that are going in the portal to get paid. And that's and by the way, coaches have been leaving their jobs for years. So if you're one of those people that get your feelings hurt, like these players have no loyalty, coaches leave for better jobs all the time. That's what they do. They upgrade, they go to a new spot. We don't hold their feet to the fire. These kids have, a couple opportunities now, and I think they're going to maximize them, and they're not going to go sit on the bench, and you're going to continue to see that portal fill up like crazy. And big name guys that just did it for 1 year, by the way, balled out, and then guess what? They know if they put their name in the portal again, they get another bite at the apple. If they go graduate and become a grad transfer, they can transfer again and get another bite at the apple. Like Quinn Ewers did it from Ohio State to Texas, right? Go get paid a shoot ton of money, transfer again and get paid a shoot ton of money at other schools. And it's just, that part ain't going anywhere, Brent.
No, not at all. How do you think the teams are looking at this, where in terms of time spent with, I have 2 opponents now I have to prepare for over this time frame. They're using a lot of different resources to get ready to play these games for sure.
Yeah, and we're gonna have Dan Lanning on tomorrow, and we'll ask him that. But I know what they're doing. They're watching both, and they're figuring out what both do. And then the cool thing for them is they'll put themselves on the field when they play, and they watch that game. What the tendencies they know, what they know about the team, they'll basically coach that game. Like if you think about it, they're gonna do as best job they can to learn, put themselves in that moment, and take the time to get healthy. I think what Kirby said was really, really big, and I've seen that just with my high school team with North Oconee Titans going to the Benz on Monday night to play for a state championship. They're mentally exhausted too. Like they've done it for so long. And sometimes it's good to get a few days to get away, to self-evaluate, to watch your tape, figure out some of the things you need to do better, you need to do differently. And so I think you use this time as much as you can to your liking. And obviously having a bye is huge. It is enormous. And you got anything else, Brent, before we kick off out of here? Because I just think I think we should do this again with Indiana and with SMU and just how they got here, man, because nobody thought they could get here. So it's fun to evaluate and say, this is how they got there. They shouldn't have. It's not traditional. And we start to see maybe like the model moving forward and who can do it in the future.
Very much so. And by the way, they got a chance just like everybody else. They got a chance.
Yeah.
Just like everybody else. And that's unlike anything we've seen.
Yeah. Boise State and Spencer
watch.
Danielson's, those guys don't get chances. Those guys.
And they're obviously going to get disrespected to the nth degree from here till they play the game.
So will Arizona State. They'll be counted out. So will Indiana. So will SMU. So tomorrow we'll get a little bit behind the scenes with them and what they've done to get there. And but it's cool, man. And guess what? Your team, dudes, just listen, man. You're not that far away. Like if your team stunk this year, look at these teams. Like it can turn around really, really quickly. And that's the good news about the new college football that some of us complain about, some of us don't like, and some of the systems I know we don't like, and that's fine. But it can be turned around. Appreciate y'all sticking with us this season. The numbers continue to grow. We very much appreciate that.
Coach Lanning tomorrow night. Talking to Coach Lanning.
Jump on with Danny Lanning, one of the coolest, let me tell you something, Brent, one of the most spitfire dudes you'll ever meet. Like I remember talking to him on the sidelines before Georgia playing the SEC championship game and Bryce Young. And I just remember that dude was like he was just so intense, so into it. I know he'll bring that fire. Oregon fans, tune in as well. We'll cover some other stuff, but thanks again, y'all, for tuning in and all throughout the season, sticking with us, and we'll keep putting out some good content.